Bollen.
Hello? A bit more now. No, I can't hear anything now. Hello? 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 Yes.
But
No! Ah!
you can say penetrative education apps.
Penetrative.
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 Just say anal.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Shut up. Hello and welcome back to the Cybernews weekly podcast. This week we're going to be talking about invasive education apps, Hitler glorification on TikTok and X, and the recent outages with Verizon and PlayStation. Joined with me this week are my colleagues, Ginteris and Jurgita.
Hi!
And I'm Neve. Hello.
You're so happy to see
I'm
us.
so happy to be here.
But in this particular studio, because you just saw us outside.
Oh, no, I didn't. I'm just happy to be here. Happy to be talking and doing stuff. Anyway, invasive education apps. So I think that most people now, or it's probably a common thing, but most people are chronically online, right? So I feel like it's difficult for people to get involved with traditional modes of education. So people are employing different techniques in the forms of apps, but they're tricky, aren't they, Ginteris?
Yes, they are. Although I think I'm not chronically online.
No,
I have to
you're
be
the
for
exception.
work and for like streaming stuff. But
Younger people are
I think
chronically
this is
online.
the gamification element of it. It happens with everything, fitness, education,
Yeah.
everything else. People want just to get information and feel like as if they're playing. They get little rewards, badges, whatnot. They can compare themselves with friends and whatnot.
Yeah, that's very true. I think since most younger folk are still gonna be online, right? So maybe let's try to get them out there.
Also with the attendance
get them
spans.
to learn something. I don't know, and the apps themselves they're quite playful these days, so that the youngsters could learn actually something.
Yeah, it's good. Like Duolingo, the little owl that bullies you into doing your Spanish lesson every day. It's pretty good, but there's problems.
It's quite a bully.
Indeed.
Do you know what I did when I learned English?
What?
When I was a kid, I was watching MTV each day after school.
That explains so much.
What specifically? Jesus.
I had Mr. Kovacs on national TV.
Oh yeah, Cartoon Network as well.
Yeah.
In the 90s. Yeah. And Eurosport. But anyway, so the real story here is that there's always a catch using these apps, and we did an experiment, a researchy kind of experiment on our website. You can look it up, of course. And we have found, together with our researchers, that these apps like Coursera, Duolingo, Remind, Udemy, all of them collect our private data. I mean, that's not even news. We've been saying this all the time on this pod and elsewhere, that as soon as you give permissions to stuff on your device, to these apps, whatever apps, you open the door to your private data, and this can be misused, let's say. So it's okay. So 25 popular learning and education apps were examined, and yes, in a perfect scenario, and it's got not to do only with education apps, but all of them really. The developers of them should require only the essential permissions to require for the app to function, normally for the end user. However, of course, and you might be aware that over the last 5 years, because this is our 5th anniversary as a website, by the way, we've done research into popular airline apps and travel planning apps, and these analyses have already shown that these apps do not only ask for essential permissions. They always want more. They want your device's communication features for some reason.
Yeah, weird.
Personal information such as your location, camera access, storage, or contacts. And, I don't know, maybe it's because we write about it each week or why, but it's quite easy to sniff, really. I mean, they will tell us they need those permissions for full functionality, but when in reality they don't need all that information. I mean, even theoretically we don't need that information for me to use the education, let's say, app normally and fully. So do they need to know where I am? No, they don't. Maybe at first, but then they should close that ability immediately. I don't know. Do they need access to my storage and my content on my device?
But why even
No.
at first should they know where you are?
Yeah. I mean, they can always, obviously, they can always explain stuff away. I mean, as comparison, California was trying to pass this AI safety bill for the last couple of months, and it was quite near the finish line, but they didn't because the big tech lobbyists, they employed this very, very confusing language which normal people don't understand.
Yeah.
And you will not understand, the clauses or whatnot
I don't
on
understand
apps.
much.
Not you, me, you, and everyone. I mean, normal, average
Pointed
people.
at me.
I'm looking at you all the time. I don't know why, but anyways.
Just so happy.
Yeah. So I would just say to just do everything in a goddamn cloud. Like you should. Why do you need access to my physical device and information on that? Even though this might not be on the cloud. I don't know. You'll get that.
It depends on the app, of course. Sometimes you need, for example, camera permission because you are asked to take a picture of something that you did and you need to upload it. But also, you can enable that permission only when you are using an app, right? But sometimes, in good scenario, we know at least about those permissions. In some cases, they declare one thing, and then our researchers check, and it's actually completely other permissions that they are, allowing themselves to have. And of course, as Gintara said, it's they always have a justification, and essentially saying that, the app won't function. And maybe, a person who just wants to get on the app as quickly as possible, they allow those permissions without giving it any extra thought, right? But when you think about it, and in some cases, apps, they are really invasive. I mean, they ask for access to your messages. They have the permission to write files on your device and whatnot, right? And I get that. I believe that they don't have any bad intentions here, right? But then every technology there, every code, every app can be abused. So how sure we are that they are 100% secure, which is even impossible, right?
Yeah.
And the problem is that a lot of these apps are used by underage people. Not only, of course, but then you don't really expect, let's say, 15-year-old checking those permissions and what do they mean,
Probably
what do they
don't
need.
even know what they are.
An app just asks you some permission, says that it won't function without them, so you approve, right?
Because it's convenient and the easiest thing to do rather than do a load of research about what it means.
Maybe it's wishful thinking, but as a let's say a parent of a 15 or 14 or 13-year-old, I would probably install the app and deal with all the permissions before letting the son or the daughter use it. I would hope that would be the case. I'm pretty sure this wouldn't happen because no one has the time these days.
Well, and if they have their own devices, they're savvy about how to do things themselves. So
there's going to be a line drawn there when my daughter grows up. I hope again.
But the app Remind, which I think was the highest scoring on the most invasive apps, I think anyway, it seems like a really invasive app, and it kind of freaks me out because it's like a social media app for your school, and I just feel like if someone is to get a hold of that information, you're sending messages back and forth, it could contain information about children's welfare and their situations at home and stuff like that. So I don't know, I feel like a lot of these could be manipulated by really bad people who have really
it can
bad
also
intentions.
It just makes you question, why do those apps really need some of the permissions, right?
That's for the life of me, I cannot understand.
Record the audio, it makes sense, Duolingo and others, they want to hear you, let's say, speak French, but what about read your calendar
or your contacts?
hello,
Duolingo wants to know who you have in your contacts.
Read phone state, call phone, Bluetooth connect, read contacts, access media geolocation. These are not used by many apps, but that the permissions, some of them are used by nearly every app that we checked. For example, write external storage. So 21 of 25 analyzed apps do that. Read external storage. Access camera, 17 apps out of 25. Do they all really need that? And even read calendar.
If they need to take pictures, then again, but there should be a functionality to have temporary access to a camera or closed somehow. I don't know.
Yeah.
So that it wouldn't be possible for them not for them, but for, let's say, malicious actors to then infiltrate the content on their device or on that app and then just steal it. I don't know. For me, the most scary one, I think, was not scary, but it's just a bit weird, was that the 4 apps, okay, that's not a lot, but 4 apps need to get accounts.
Yeah, that's wild.
Because, that's everything that is on there on your, unless you, in the settings you deal with that beforehand. But so any app with the get accounts permission may retrieve all registered accounts and email addresses stored in account manager, and every smartphone has those. So this of course imposes serious privacy and security issues, and these are the most serious ones because you can compromise a phone, and then a malicious actor can have all the emails out there and probably passwords as well. So I don't know why they can send them to unintended parties and blah blah blah. I really don't understand why they need all of that information. And I just hope that we, as cyber pros, have some advice for people how to deal with the permissions maybe beforehand, or set them to a certain setting before installing apps. I don't know if that's possible.
Well, first of all, it's not only education, right? Apps, as you mentioned, essentially we are taking that risk with installing any app, and again, we showed it multiple times. Let's say I did a similar research with female tech apps, which is way more dangerous in the US now, right? Because these apps track your period, ovulation, sexual health, whatnot, and it could be essentially abused, in the states where, let's say, abortion is banned, right? It could be used to maybe prosecute yourself and whatnot. So this is really serious, and if people keep using apps, they need to know how to take care of those permissions. And if you install the app in a hurry and allowed all those permissions, it's fine. You can take them back and deny afterwards, just going to settings. Depends on the phone that you're having, but essentially you can go and check every app you have and what it can do on your phone, or you can go generally to permissions and see how many apps and what apps specifically have the permission to read your storage. What is more dangerous is with the AI coming to our smartphones, and as I've noticed and checked with the new Google Pixel phone that just came out, essentially just by having functioning artificial intelligence features on your phone, you are essentially allowing all those permissions, kind of granting to Google. And then if you're using that, if Google has that and other apps have that, so, your privacy is out of the window. So, probably just then, we get to that doomsday scenario where if we go to some very private space, we just don't take our device with. We already know it can listen. When apps have the permission to access your camera, it could also be enabled by bad actors, from a distance. That's why we cover the camera of our laptops. You don't know, usually it's fine, but you don't really know if your maybe system it's been breached, and it's dangerous. So don't have sensitive files on your device. Obviously, don't take it where it's really private for you, like bathroom. I don't know, like toilet and
getting changed
like that.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good deal for the players in the tech industry, app developers or phone manufacturers or whatnot. You basically, especially with the AI features basically becoming mainstream on your phones, they're gonna say, here, there's the shiny new feature or a device, and you can have it, but then give us everything. And also you have to pay $1,000 or something for that device.
This is enraging. You pay the money for the device, then you pay the subscription fee to those apps, to like most of them anyways. And they are giving you some content, but they are also taking your like data, not only money directly from you.
Yeah, that's money plus data. And they should give us,
I've said this before,
they should give us the devices for free then.
At least.
There's no money in that.
Anyways, the daycare my daughter goes to is very low tech, as far as I'm aware, and I'm glad actually. And yes, I'm pretty sure more and more online learning will be out there, with kids going to be online. But there's already been quite a big bunch of literature released and research released about how these apps and devices hurt our kids. Really, there's this book, The Anxious Generation. It's pretty much the bestseller in the last 6 months in the US, I think, or something like that. And it's writing about. I haven't read it yet, but as I'm actually aware that it's writing a lot about Google and Meta and all those social media high-tech companies kind of being at fault at that, and that they don't like people talking bad about them. So that book is not very visible on Google Discovery or whatnot.
Pushed by the algorithm.
Yeah. So I'm pretty happy. My daycare my daughter attends is low tech. It's gonna be techie in the future, but there's maybe empty hope, but I hope to take care of my kids' mental health and also privacy as well by taking, and also education apps. Okay, I'm gonna make my kid read books, physical books, or a Kindleware, which is the connection is pretty primitive. Isn't it?
I think that's unrealistic. Really, it's like trying to protect your kid from all the threats on the street, right? They're gonna go out there. They're gonna go.
But you still should do what you can without actually like even hurting the kid more.
Delaying, using these kinds of apps and stuff if you're concerned about it, rather than you can't. We live in a world where everybody's on the internet and everybody's using these apps. But if you delay it long enough, maybe they won't become so reliant on it. But
I don't know, that sounds like, delay sex education until 18, they won't get pregnant and they won't have sex until 18.
No, I think you should educate them, but maybe be like, maybe we don't use this until a certain time, but I'm going to tell you about it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, maybe steering a conversation the right way is the way forward.
Yeah, people are gonna use that anyways, and it's becoming so convenient. So I'm talking to my Google Discover app anyways, because Gemini is integrated, and it's really convenient to do some research when I'm watching a TV in the evening, and then want to either double check some facts or get some background on something or get some ideas, right? So, but it means that it's listening to me. It has samples of my voice that if they would be abused, they could be used for voice cloning and deep faking. Then my doppelganger could call you in the middle of the night,
send me 1,000 euros.
Yeah, and then you would do that maybe if you has.
I don't has. I don't
no, but that's a real risk, right? And I know that I'm willingly providing all those samples for the sake of convenience. So we need to be be aware of, the risks here. As simple as that. I don't think there's any stopping of this, especially with Altman, pushing forward, going for profit, meaning skipping some security tests and whatnot.
Maybe the way would be to, so we have these apps that are going to keep asking us for stuff, and we're going to keep giving it to them. It's probably unavoidable. But with the potential of misuse of that data they gather, there should be, wait for it, regulation saying, establishing responsibility, clear responsibility at the end of the day. I mean, when there's misuse being established by, law enforcement or whatnot, and there's a breach and there's loss of data, theft of data or whatnot, responsibility should be clearly of the ones, not only the ones that stole the data, but also the ones who allowed for the circumstances to be like that, so that the data could be stolen so easily. So if regulation worked that way one day, I'd be quite okay with all the, let's say, privacy for convenience barter,
you kind of would want to have some safeguards here.
Because
exactly. I want to use the streets right, but I also want to know that they are kind of safe-ish. Okay.
Yeah.
There are rules and fines and persecution for if you kill someone.
Or compensation.
Oh yes.
Give me money if I get hit in the face on the bus. Okay, so moving swiftly on to Hitler glorification. Yes, this is
quite a jump.
Yeah, quite the pivot. So there's quite frankly a lot of horrifying stuff on the internet, but this might just take the cake, because researchers at the Institute of for Strategic Dialogue, researchers at the Institute for Strategic Dialogue have witnessed Hitler invading social media platforms like X and TikTok. The Nazi
compared to Poland or France, it's peanuts, isn't it? or what are you on about?
No.
Tell us more.
The Nazi leader has garnered tens of millions of views.
Nice.
He's becoming quite the...
Is he monetizing it?
Someone is.
This is very troubling, I find, because...
Yeah, you keep smiling.
This is very troubling. No, it's troubling. Because... Sorry.
Stop. It's not funny.
Okay, it really isn't funny. I don't know what you're doing.
Sorry.
It demonstrates how pro-Hitler and neo-Nazi content is on the rise. So, yet again.
Yeah, so AI was used to auto-translate Hitler's speeches. As simple as that. They're still online. I checked just before the podcast. They're on YouTube, harnessing more views and whatnot. And so it's just his speeches translated quite in a convincing way, actually. It matches his tone of voice, like the whole manner of speaking and whatnot. And it's been trending on YouTube, Instagram, X, TikTok, and by now it has over 50 million views everywhere. And the problem here is the context, obviously, the war in the region. I'm not gonna go into details, not to infuriate anyone, but anti-Semitism is on the rise these days, right? And we know how dangerous Hitler ideas are. There's no need to revisit them and recheck them. We know where it led, right? In history. And as always, we do on this podcast, we require accountability from the big tech companies. And, they have these guidelines on how they, stop hate speech, how they remove hateful videos, harmful videos and whatnot. And yet Hitler's speeches translated into English so that they would reach wider audiences are there, and they are trending because of the algorithms, obviously. obviously, if if people are into something, algorithm pushes that even further to reach more audience, right? Because that's content people are interested in, but it's actually harmful these days. And we did an article on this to kind of address this issue, right? Quoting the research that you mentioned as well, and we kind of highlighted that platforms are not doing enough, and they obviously aren't, because the videos, they are still there. They are not doing enough, and TikTok reached out to us. They're unhappy with our headline, because we emphasize that they are essentially pushing those videos to their audiences.
Blind eye to it.
Yeah, so of course they quoted a few few moments from their guidelines, how they're working with the hate speech. They didn't give any specific numbers about how they did this in this case, but they quite boldly actually even suggested us changing the headline and offered to focus on X better, and offered to send us some headline suggestions, but I will read you the headline.
Yes.
Which is kind of okay. Hitler glorifying surges on TikTok and X as moderators turn a blind eye. And they're kind of trying to argue with the second part of the headline, that they turn a blind eye, but they still see those videos. So they don't, but they do.
They need more eyes then.
Human eyes, maybe.
Yeah, human eyes, of course. And the problem with these apps and platforms and the moderating efforts is that they keep saying that they're doing their best, they're not turning a blind eye or whatnot, but clearly they don't have enough people, or they actually are proactively laying off people and just ignoring the whole issue. I mean, to me, right, I'm not a TikTok user, but I'm pretty sure it's more or less the same trend as on X, because 10 years ago this just wasn't so casual, and it's so casual these days. The whole posts of Jews are at fault at everything, or Hitler was right, or he built the highways in Germany. Jesus Christ! I mean, this is so just like it's just my observation, it's my take, and it's not language policing when you see hate speech. It should be removed. It's no cancel culture,
Yeah, we can cancel Hitler. It's okay to say we can cancel Hitler.
We should cancel Hitler. We should cancel anti-Semitism or any kind of discrimination or phobias. Or
against any group of people.
It's just infuriating. I mean, they keep saying us that but they're not hiring more people. They're hiring less people because they have AI now, and AI is not going to do a job when people who are posting stuff like that. They're quite smart, and they can play around with words, and these posts will still slip through,
They slip through the triggers. They don't use the trigger words and whatnot, but the whole every speech from Hitler should be a trigger word, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Germany has republished Mein Kampf just a few years ago. Yeah, we published it with all the footnotes and annotations explaining stuff. So, I mean, you cannot obviously do that with Hitler speeches online. So, especially on social media, where people can comment and direct the conversation where they want it to be. So, my solution would be just to, I don't know. Sorry, no.
Yes, no. Niamh, tell us how it started, because there's Winston Churchill involved.
Okay. So this all started.
Was he drunk? Because he always was.
A cigar in one hand, drink in the other. But he's apparently the chief villain of World War II.
That I thought Churchill was the chief villain of the Second World War.
Which I think is wild, because Darryl Cooper, revisionist historian, came on Tucker Carlson podcast.
Nice. Two pieces of trash talking to each other.
Who was fired from Fox
News
last year.
He's doing very well on X. So.
But that's telling when Fox News fire you.
Yeah, and when you're doing really well on X, that's also a telling sign. I just want to say that Tucker Carlson said that
Twat
Britain
symposium,
is
Twat symposium.
He said that along the lines of Britain is the most degraded country he's ever seen. I can say that, you can't. That's rude. But anyway, I digress. So this guy basically said that the chief villain of World War II is Winston Churchill, and it all started from basically spewing this propaganda.
Yeah.
And this incited a lot of pro-Nazi content to proliferate among social media sites. I see that 50 accounts in the network that violated TikTok community guidelines with hateful ideologies had like 6.2 million views. And of those 50 accounts, when I think they reached out, after one day, those 50 accounts were still active with no violations.
But also that's how the whole Hitler AI speech came to fruition, right? Because Cooper went on talking about Germany, how it would better let people like work in concentration camps than starve them.
No, okay, this is wild. Okay, he suggested that basically Hitler and his regime didn't account for the amount of political prisoners and the amount of basically people there were. So they were like, oh, okay, they're unprepared for it, so it's better to put these prisoners of war in a camp. It's like, okay, I think that's a crazy take.
It's very crazy because they had war prisoners, white, French, or English or American guys, but unfortunately, they thought of other humans as subhumans from Russia or Poland or whatnot. So
you're saying there's no
Jews, obviously.
There's no intention there. Like it's an innocent misjudgment. Like, what do you mean? It's crazy. But
it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, and he said,
it's so casual.
It is, but he says it with just so much.
Yeah.
He's just so convinced. It's brainwashed.
Does he say it in a minute, like TikTok style?
No, it's on the podcast.
Oh, okay.
But he also said, that they didn't know what to do with people, so instead of letting them starve, let's put them in camps.
Let's put them to rest, right? And
now let them die peacefully or something.
Oh yeah, that's what happened.
No, he said instead of letting them starve, wouldn't it be better to just finish them off now?
Oh yeah.
It makes me so mad.
And just promoting these ideas, having this nonsense, and then also letting Hitler AI translated speeches like roam free on social media. It's not preventing hate speech. It's promoting hate speech.
Yeah, exactly.
No matter what they tell you, they're like stupid guidelines, and they don't work.
And what I found interesting was...
What guidelines is there as well? At least on X, there are no guidelines anymore.
Well,
officially
hogwash, as you would say.
Hogwash. I briefly read an article and X's transparency report, and it says that he's banning a lot of accounts, right? But still this remains. It's crazy. I don't understand.
I've read that Elon Musk is now forbidden blocking accounts that you don't like before the election. Right? So he's not interfering at all.
This is just fueling current tensions right around the world, and the anti-Semitism is on the rise. And Lebanon saluted yesterday when rockets were flying from Iran to Israel. So yeah, I get that there's war, and countries and opposing parties they take action, but there's no need to salute when someone might actually suffer, like civilians and whatnot. And this is just fueling it, and for just a day after Iran's attack against Israel, again we checked X and it's full of misinformation, right, saying quite the opposite of what happened. And again, it's roaming free, so don't see much moderation out there. It's just
especially when Elon Musk is helping to spread this information.
Yeah.
It's like you're violating whether or not there is any guidelines anymore, but you're violating your own terms of service, surely.
Yeah, it's very weird online, especially on X. I mean, there's not only anti-Semitism, there's a bunch of Islamophobic posts as well, because let's remember there's far-right loonies in Netanyahu's government in Israel, and they're quite happy with Israel, conducting air raids, and they're even happy with killing civilians, and they're nuts for that. But I mean, yeah, people should just maybe focus on getting a solution right out there and for a ceasefire to work somehow, because no one likes people dying, I guess. No one likes war and should like wars. I don't know, but Musk himself, he's like, I know he's actually met with Netanyahu a few times, I think, since October 7th last year, the massacre. But I don't know what was said. Still, I mean, there's a lot of pro-Israeli influencers on X, as is pro-Hamas and pro-Hezbollah folks out there. Himself, he is, like Neve rightly says, actually a serial spreader of misinformation. Because let's remember, 800 million or whatever, how many followers does he have? A lot. Hundreds of millions.
I think it's over 100.
So I mean, the New York Times, by the way, a week and a half ago, I think, they spent a week just like, so to speak, with Musk on his X profile. Just calculated and analyzed his posts and reposts and whatnot, and just concluded that almost a third of 171 of Musk's posts last week, not last week, in the period of 5 days, were false, misleading, or missing vital context. And I mean, this is, let's remember again, there's just a little over a month left until the U.S. election, presidential election, and these posts, obviously, they talk about cancel culture because that's his like play toy. I don't know, politics, immigration, blah blah blah. So, for instance, like, these posts that Musk retweets or reposts these days are claiming that Democrats are making memes illegal. I should make Musk illegal. But falsehoods that they want to open the border, of course, that's an immigration horse he's riding to gain votes from illegal immigrants, and 800 million times his posts were seen on X. Seen doesn't mean influenced by, but when you said about these 50 or whatever accounts glorifying Hitler, that's what, 6 million, 8 million? So 100 times that.
But we also know, like, that war efforts, right, and governments use those, as we call, useful idiots, like by unleashing bots and then amplifying what they say, right, and like spreading that information. So it might seem harmless at first, right, but that's how, like, inciting this whole violence spreads, right, and people get worked up, and suddenly they are not against some like adversary government anymore. They are against people, and that's what we are afraid of, right? Be it like Islamophobia or anti-Semitism. It's terrifying, because why, like,
you're amplifying an already really sensitive situation. It's like when
people live online, people live in their filter bubble. Suddenly, if they get exposed to like tons of such information, they might get convinced that okay, like they are like really bad people, and
and they're not only live in filter bubbles, they're made to live in filter bubbles. Let's remember that Musk and his guys over at X, they can easily direct people to only see this type of content. Like, progressives would see what they like, and they wouldn't be exposed to whatever moderate conservative worldviews. And with Republicans and the MAGA crowd especially, they will only bathe in the same bath, they will only drink that juice, and they will only vote then for Trump.
That's true. Luckily, we are running an article this week about filter bubbles and how to break from the matrix, because it's possible and it doesn't require you to get off the internet. And, even if you are worked up by these neo-Nazi ideas online or not, it's definitely useful technique for everyone to try out, because we all live in our filter bubbles, and then we are so surprised and shocked when we go and talk to real people, right? Or we see the election results, and then, who voted for them? Like, I didn't, my friends didn't, my whole bubble didn't, because suddenly you break out of that bubble. So it's a good exercise, like start doing it now. Try and check new different ideas from time to time to see that world is not just black and white. It has so many colors, and people essentially are good, and doesn't deserve violence and hate and whatnot.
I remember I went to the States back in 2016, even before Trump was elected, And we were driving around the states. Obviously, DC is different, but we did Virginia and Colorado and small towns and bigger cities. And we would talk to people, and they were all really, I would say, mildly center-right, which is okay, I think, because most people are actually conservatives. Progressives were never the majority anywhere, I think. Anyway, so they were quite mildly friendly, like pro people, let's say. But then you see the discourse online or on like high politics. Just Jesus Christ, I mean, it's crazy, But most people aren't like that. So you just have to maybe go out and
touch grass.
Yeah,
yes.
Touch grass or smoke some grass as well.
Touch grass.
Depends on the state you're in.
Okay, so up next, outages. We had 2 outages this week.
Very interesting, yeah.
Very interesting stuff indeed. So outages happen. Sometimes things go wrong, and that's okay. But I feel like when we
just turn it off and on again.
Yeah, switch it on and switch it off again, the age-old trick. But I think when we rely heavily on certain providers and we get so attached to our devices, like our devices, not vices, but those two, when they go down, we're left feeling some type of way. And that's kind of what happened with Verizon and PlayStation.
Yeah, if you're addicted, you feel that way.
Well, yeah, but people are. Like, if you're left without mobile connection, you're going to feel disconnected. Like, you're going to feel isolated.
Yeah.
Also, some services simply depend on it. So
but with PlayStation, I think that's a funnier thing for me because you
what
really
exactly? Can you tell me? Imagine I don't know anything about it. Maybe I don't. Can you tell me what happened?
Which one? The Verizon
Both.
or the... Yes, I can. So tens of thousands of Verizon customers were left without mobile service, which prompted an investigation by the Federal Communications Commission. Interesting. It managed to restore its impacted service by around the 10-hour mark.
So 10 hours people were left without
a
mobile connection.
Uh-huh.
So in those 10 hours, they could have
touched grass.
Gone out and bought a SIM card of a different provider. And
yeah, but I guess it's not the point. If you're paying for something and, it kind
of... They're going to compensate people, though.
Maybe.
For that one day.
No, but I mean, I know that some people feel really anxious if they are apart from their loved ones or their kids because they
maybe that's there's an emergency.
Also, there was a really big hurricane or something crazy that happened. Hurricane Helen.
Yes.
So I feel like that may add to the issue. If you don't have mobile service, you feel vulnerable.
Well, at least technology is getting there, at least with iPhones, right? You have like satellite connection in case of emergencies, and also whenever you are in such a place where there is no actually connection, like if you are in the mountains or somewhere deep in the woods, you can still like call the emergency services, right? But it's not the case for everyone. And let's not fool ourselves. It's not that easy to go and buy any other SIM card or whatnot. People don't have money for like basic utilities, and in the US they do pay a lot of already for telecommunication and connections. So obviously they would just want it to work, right? Yeah. Of course they can find a solution.
Yeah. I presume, though, in Florida, let's say, in hurricane areas, let's say, where hurricanes happen every year, really. So I presume at least the police stations or the fire departments, they're equipped with satellite phones, or even regular people. They're quite rich out there in Florida. So they probably have these satellite phones or ways of connecting to services when they need. But in this specific case, areas affected were not entirely affected by the hurricane itself. So, LA, Vegas, Phoenix, Denver, Indianapolis, Indiana.
But maybe you're trying to contact someone, this is hypothetical, of course, but you're trying to contact someone who has been affected and your mobile service isn't working, and then you think that it's because of them. I don't know. Do
phone booths still exist in the US?
I'm sure they do, but I'm sure they're used for other reasons.
Yeah. But then again, I mean, was it just the mobile connection? Because if the internet is still available, you can call via the internet. So I guess there's ways around that.
Mm-hmm.
But still, it's not a convenient.
The reason we pick those topics is it's because this happens quite often, be it Verizon, or some other outage.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't use your credit card anymore, and it's really troubling, or like connection. It's not that you essentially absolutely need to use it right now. It's because we got so used to it. We don't feel in a comfort zone anymore when we don't have those,
well,
like
you have to think, right? Like you have to think about it.
People can't. If you don't use a certain muscle, it kind of deteriorates, right? And for example, people keep using GPS to work from home. To their work or like back, and suddenly when they like sit in another car without a GPS, they can't really navigate, because their brain doesn't work like that anymore, because someone keeps telling you all the time like where to take a turn, like what speed limit there is, and whatnot. So there's a lot of dependencies here.
Yeah, for sure.
What about PlayStation?
Yes, this was quite the amusing one for the amount of memes that people were posting on Reddit and X, and I found it quite amusing. So it was a global outage, took like almost every PlayStation service offline. How long? For 8 hours.
Ooh.
So
imagine how much you could do in those 8 hours instead of playing.
Panic that you can't play.
Freak out that you literally can't do anything. So the gaming giant revealed that the following services had been experiencing issues since about 4:20 a.m. on Monday, October 1st, 2024. I think this was GMT.
All right, so
AM.
It's a school night, really. I mean, it's before school on Monday.
What if you're unemployed?
Yeah, still it's night time. It's 4:20 a.m. Presumably, if it's down for 8 hours, for at least 3 hours, you're still asleep. So it's a 5 hours. You eat, you shower, you take a crap, whatever. So there's only 4 hours left of gaming that you're gonna miss. So it's not a lot.
And it affected all major platforms. So it just says other: PS Vita, PS3, PS4, PS5, and web services. So it affected everyone.
For 4 hours.
Yeah, but people were going nuts. People were
they're crazy.
Distraught.
Yeah, but that shows then the dependency.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's what's crazy, that
People
people really
feel
feel anxious. But I believe that they do, and that is a problem, right?
Exactly, that's the problem. Feeling anxious about things that you shouldn't really feel anxious about. That's a key issue.
I was wondering, because there's a lot of like good titles like that are coming out in October, and I was wondering whether this would affect the release of certain, because you couldn't purchase anything, you couldn't download anything, but it's back online. So for
Are you a gamer yourself?
No, my boyfriend is though.
Okay.
I play The Sims on.
Did he panic?
No, I don't think he even noticed.
He was asleep.
I think he was asleep.
That's normal people.
Yeah. But no, he didn't panic. I just play The Sims on PS5.
Right.
Yeah.
You're okay then.
I do some gaming, but even like offline, I don't connect with other users.
Me too.
No. Oh yeah. Okay, so thank you very much, guys, for joining me today. Yep, and that's been us. We'll see you next time. But I didn't say anything stupid, I don't think. Maybe. I don't know.